What's going on? Welcome in. This is Talking Tide. We're recording this on Tuesday night. The playoff committee has just dropped their rankings, their penultimate rankings for the year in this year's college football playoffs. A lot of movement happening this week. Let's get into it and we'll talk about it. So you can see here we have a little bit of movement at the top of the board. Also a lot of interesting movement near the bottom of it. First things first, our rankings from 25 up. We have James Madison, North Texas, Iowa, Georgia Tech, Houston, and Tulane. Those are our 20 to 25. Still a very interesting conversation to be had there. We're going to talk about that here in a second. Then you have Michigan, Arizona, Virginia, USC, Utah, Vanderbilt, Texas, Miami, BYU, Notre Dame. Huge thing for Alabama. We moved up one spot following the win of the Iron Bowl. Alabama at 9, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, who dropped 4 spots following their loss to Texas. Ole Miss, rightfully not punished for losing their head coach. Oregon, Texas Tech, Georgia, Indiana, Ohio State. A lot of movement to be had here. A ton of playoff chaos scenarios for the committee to navigate. We're going to talk about all that. First things first, please do please subscribe, hit that little bell notification for when we go live. We actually did a live reaction to the rankings as they were released. So make sure to follow, hit the little bell notification. So first things first, I want to talk about. I know the bottom of the board does not look interesting. It is just as interesting as the top of it. This is an Alabama-based show. I think Alabama is in. The fact that we moved up to the 9 spot, I believe that we are 100% safe. So our bubble teams are going to be Notre Dame, BYU, and Miami. Now, I think first things first, I think Miami's on the outside looking in. Because as the rules are described, the top 5 conference champions will get an auto bid. They don't get an auto buy like they did last year, but they will get an auto bid. So how many conferences do we have? We have Big 10, we have SEC, we have Big 12, and then if you look at Miami, they are ACC, but they are not playing in their conference championship game. The ACC is chaos right now, but the way it worked out, it's actually going to be Virginia and Duke playing in the ACC championship game. Now, this spells disaster for Miami. They're 10-2, but they cannot call themselves a conference champion to get an auto bid. So when we have those 3 conferences, so you're going to have BYU, Texas Tech, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Indiana. That's 3. We have 2 other conferences that have to get auto bids. So those last 2 spots, that 12 and that 11 spot, are on the outside looking in. Now, the 11 spots BYU, there's a lot of drama to be had there also. We're going to talk about that. But when you go down the board, this is why I said don't neglect the downside of the board. 17, Virginia is playing in the ACC championship game. If they win, they are in. They will jump up and they will be above Miami. Miami will be on the outside looking in officially. They'll be at 13. What do we have after that? Next conference is the American Conference. We have Tulane and we have North Texas playing in the American Conference Championship. They will go up. They will take the spot of BYU. So it's BYU and Miami on the outside looking in. Now, also something to note, if Virginia end up losing that game to Duke, James Madison is at 25. I think they have a very good chance of jumping Virginia, and they will be in. So we could have 2 G5 teams in this playoff. That would be nuts. But let's go up and we're gonna talk about some different scenarios here. So I think Miami's out. They're in a tough position because if it's me doing these rankings, I'm just gonna go ahead and say I would not have ranked these 3 in this particular manner. I think that Notre Dame should be 12, Miami should be 11, and BYU should be 10. And the reason I say that is because you avoid the scenarios I'm going to talk about here. Now, why do I think Miami should be above Notre Dame? Well, they have the head-to-head win, and they play a very similar strength of schedule. Whenever you look at the playoff committee's reasons for ranking, essentially the way they structure their rankings, head-to-head and strength of schedule are the top 2. Miami has a equal strength of schedule. They have a equally hard schedule that they play, and they beat Notre Dame head to head. I know Notre Dame has been on a 10-game win streak. I understand that. And also, I think that Miami has the worst losses. Notre Dame lost to Texas A&M, and they lost to Miami, a couple of teams vying for a playoff spot. Miami lost to Louisville, and then they also ended up losing a game to, it's not coming to my head right now. They also lost a game to SMU. So they have the worst losses, but the top two criteria are strength of schedule and head-to-head. Strength of losses is in there somewhere, but it's not the top two. Miami have the top two over Notre Dame. I think that Miami should be the 11 spot. I think Notre Dame should be the 12 spot, and then BYU should be the 10 spot, because then you avoid this scenario. So if BYU win, they're in. That's bottom line. If they win, they're in. But they're in a very hard spot, because if they end up losing this game, I don't think it's right that they would be out, but they would likely be out. And I don't think you should be punished for playing your conference championship game. Same thing we saw last year with SMU. They lost to Clemson. Clemson got in. SMU also got in over Bama. So this precedent was already set, and you should not be punished for playing your conference championship game. Now, BYU has a chance to not leave it up to chance and win against Virginia or win against Texas Tech. They lost to early in the season. They have a chance to redeem that win. But if they end up losing this game, they'll be 11-1 in the regular season. They'll be 11-2. A Notre Dame team that is 10-2 sitting at home, who plays actually an easier schedule than BYU, would be in. And I don't like that. I don't think that's right. And then on top of that, Miami would also be out, who beat Notre Dame. Again, they're both sitting at home, but when you have the head-to-head and the strength of schedule, I think Miami over Notre Dame. I think BYU over both of them. Would they win a game against Notre Dame or Miami? I think they have a potential to win those games. They've played a tough enough schedule where I think that they can get those wins. They haven't played a lights-out schedule, don't get me wrong. I think that Notre Dame, Miami, BYU all play a very similar run out of games, a couple of tough games in there. And Notre Dame is 1-2 against top 25. Miami is also Miami, I believe, is 1-1 against current top 25s because they beat Notre Dame and that's it. So they're 1-1. And then when you look at someone like BYU, take a look at theirs. They beat Utah. So they're also 1-1 because they lost to Texas Tech. So you have two very similar, you have three very, very similar resumes there. And BYU is playing in a conference championship game. They already have more wins than Notre Dame and Miami could garner, and they play a harder schedule. I don't know how they put BYU at 10 in this thing. I think they should, I don't know how they put BYU at 11 in this thing. I think they should be 10. And you avoid this scenario because you will have two conferences that will be jumping up, right? So Notre Dame and Miami, it's a very strange thing. If BYU win, Notre Dame and Miami on the outside looking in. If BYU lose, it's BYU and Miami on the outside looking in. It really does come down to BYU. A couple of other interesting scenarios that we could have also. Virginia end up losing to Duke this weekend. Then we're going to have an American champion and then a Sun Belt champion likely getting into the playoffs if James Madison win. You're already going to have an American going to be in there in Tulane or North Texas. There's a lot going on here. What my thought is, and this kills two birds with one stone essentially, if Notre Dame is at the 12 spot, Miami's at the 11 spot, BYU is at the 10 spot. So say Notre Dame, you have to, this forces Notre Dame to be in a conference. Because if they're in the 12 spot, they're done. They're going home. The 12 spot in this playoff is going home. If they go in a conference and they win a conference championship, they can save their season and they will stay in the playoffs. But because they don't, they're going to be sitting at home and just pray BYU lose. So I think you have to force them to get in a conference, and therefore you don't leave it up to another team winning or losing. If BYU lose the conference championship game, they should still be ahead of Notre Dame. Now, if Notre Dame end up winning their conference championship game, if they were in one, they would be in over BYU. Miami is in a weird spot. Again, they're already out because one of two, either an American championship game or the Sun Belt game or the ACC championship game, they're going to be out due to one of the two. Two of those teams are going to be in, and they'll be out because of that. It's absolute chaos. When we talk about Alabama, I think that they're playing for either a 5 or a 12 spot, or maybe even like a 10 spot. I don't know if they'll put the non-power 4 ahead of them. If all goes the favorites' way, we'll say that Virginia wins. They knock Miami. They'll go to 11. And BYU is not the favorite. They're I believe, a 13-point dog. So we'll say that they lose. This will be my scenario. We'll say that they lose. They're out. I don't want this to be how it is, but it's what the committee will say. They will be out. So they're on the outside looking in. Then, so North Texas will take their spot at 11. And we'll say that Virginia will take Miami's spot at 12. Or actually, Virginia will go to 11. Then North Texas or Tulane will go to 12. So you have BYU and Miami both out. Now, if BYU win, them and Notre Dame flip. Notre Dame is out. BYU is in. Miami's out. It's a tough scenario. I don't see any teams outside like Texas, Vanderbilt, Utah having a way to get in because they'll all be sitting at home. Right now, I see the final teams in the playoff. I think Virginia probably beat Duke. I think they're a good enough team to beat Duke. So I'm going to give them the 11 spot. I'll give North Texas a chance to beat Tulane. We're going to go with North Texas over Tulane. They'll be the 12 spot. They have a fun offense, so they'll be fun to watch in a playoff game. And again, I think Bama would be 10 if all of that transpired and they end up losing to Georgia. Again, they'll be 10, 11, or 12. I don't see Bama being dropped out if they end up losing to Georgia. If they win against Georgia, I see them going as high as the 4 spot. Depending on what Texas Tech does against BYU. Georgia could drop down to 5 or 6. Bama could jump up to 4. Texas Tech would then go to 3. The Big Ten could have 3 teams in the auto buys. If they put them below, so Georgia would drop out, Oregon would go up, but then does Bama jump Oregon? We don't know. There are 2-loss conference champion who beat Georgia. There's a lot of chaos that could happen here. And that's kind of what I love about it. It's fun. I don't like an expanded playoff, but the scenarios are very fun. Hopefully that was enough to rattle your brain and get you thinking a little bit. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. I did not want to make this a long show. I just wanted to do a quick little easy reaction for you guys. Give you some scenarios, but for all you Bama fans, I think we're safe. I would say Miami is out. BYU is on the bubble, whether they win or lose. And then Notre Dame will also depend on if BYU win or lose. Then it's down to Virginia, North Texas. North Texas or Tulane should be in no matter what. And then it's down to James Madison, hoping that Virginia end up losing the ACC championship game. It's pure chaos. It's the end of the regular season. It's pure chaos. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, please do hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Hit the little bell notification icon so you know when we go live. We do film studies. We react to rankings, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys have a good week, and roll Tide.